see how the fact that we are aware, it is like evidence that consciousness is something other than physical. So my general sort of boring, bland take on it is literally everything we know about minds and consciousness is that they are products of physical systems. The only ones we really understand are our own, but we are literally just physical. And we know, and we have extremely good supporting evidence that you can alter a conscious experience by altering the brain. So, and I don't see any supporting evidence the other way around.
Well, we don't know a lot about the brain. I mean, I know we know.
But that's a mysticism of the gaps argument or whatever. So
what is the I'm new to this. Like, what is the evidence that backs up that it's just physical?
So we don't know. One thing I would say is I'm going to end up repeating myself, but I'll just see if you agree. But the only minds we can really understand that exist are our own. And I mean, I think that animals have some sort of mind as well. And we test and manipulate them based on, we come up with tests with predictable results and then we see some of those results. A lot of our studies, especially in psychology is some of the most low resolution science that exists, but we do gradually gain information about the way people form beliefs and have a conscious experience, so on and so forth. And we are just physical. A brain is just physical. So I would start with that and ask if you agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Okay. So, and the other supporting evidence would be the only thing we know how to manipulate, or you can change a conscious experience through things like chemicals, alcohol, depressants, uppers, LSD, whatever, those types of, or through brain damage, those types of things alter the conscious experience. Now, as I started saying that, I started thinking of what a counter argument could be, because I've never heard one. I've had this discussion before, but I've never heard a good one. But I mean, you could say meditation or prayer or whatever. That does the same thing. And so you could argue well, is that physical? I mean, I would say it is, because inducing a trance or something on yourself is literally just a series of physical, events. There's no random unphysical thing that pops in there to change the experience or whatever. So that's me talking a lot. What do you want to say about it?
I don't know how to state this. The problem is I mean, do we trick our brain into thinking, why we are conscious? I mean, I don't know how I'm trying to convey this. Why it's more than physical. I don't know if I'm probably not making sense, because we, like I said, we don't know a lot of how the brain works.
Yeah. Well, the parts of it that are deeply mysterious, there's this, it's called the hard problem of consciousness, and it's probably fundamentally unsolvable, but it's at least as I understand it, is what is the content of thoughts? Sometimes they're called qualia. So qualia is this term that I'm pretty sure is used to describe the experience you have in your mind if that happens to be something else other than just a manifestation of what the brain state is. So it's kind of are the mental states the same thing as the brain states? And I think that they are, although I am happy to say I don't know even what consciousness is. All I'm doing is telling you everything we know about it. What's that?
It's considered a mental state or no? I'm really,
Sort of. Well, I'm talking more about thoughts at this point. So I can close my eyes and see my mother's own face. So what is that? Is because it's not her and it's not really her face, but I can literally, and there it is, you know, and I imagined her with a blue shirt on, and I don't even know why, right? So,
Right.
what is that? Is it something else that's non-physical? That we don't know that, and it seems kind of unknowable. But again, I think that minds are literally just a product of sufficiently complex physical systems, like the human brain. It's kind of like the most complicated thing we know about, I believe. Now, we could argue, and what I think what a lot of religious people mean when they start talking about the mind is what they actually mean is a soul. And I find that to be
It's kind of a vague word, soul, you know, and encompasses.
yeah, like nobody knows what it is. It's just
That's yeah.
the identity of you that continues existing when you don't exist. And so I think what people are doing is smuggling in souls to consciousness discussions, I believe. Now, I just reject the idea of a soul. And you could claim that, like, well, you don't know or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, actually, it really seems kind of incomprehensible to me, or not incomprehensible. That was not the right word. What the hell is the word? My brain is not braining right now, but I think there's incoherency here. That's what I meant to say, because so like there are all kinds of like weird theological questions we could ask, like how old are you in heaven? You know, if a fundamentalist or like a like if a Christian believes that you are you from the moment of conception, then what happens to blastulas that don't implant on the uterine wall and spontaneously abort? How, like, are they? Is there just a pile of goo in heaven, like Goo Mountain, something like that? See, none of these things. None of this makes any sense, because even the theist has no freaking clue what they're talking about when they say this soul goes on to, like, it's literally just a claim. It has no actual explanatory value or something like that. So I haven't actually made my point yet, sorry. But I was listening to this old Sam Harris discussion that I've watched before, but it's been a really long time. And he started talking about the soul, and this is the incoherency part of it that made the most sense to me. We don't really know. I don't remember precisely how he said it. I have my own way of putting it. But we don't know. Like, I can sort of grant to you the idea that souls exist, even though we don't really know what it is. But we don't know the content of a soul, but descriptively, a soul is supposed to be, it's basically synonymous with your subjective self. It's your identity. And it continues existing, you know, even after death in the afterlife. But what's pretty incoherent about that is what we know is if you damage any part of the brain, it's a virtual guarantee that that very thing we're talking about, the subjective self and the experience and your identity, gets shattered. It is partially destroyed by that. And the more damage you do, the more destruction occurs. However, in death, the brain is completely destroyed, but somehow the soul carries an uncorrupted copy of you off to another dimension. That doesn't make any sense, and it doubly doesn't make any sense. Now, you can claim, oh, you that's because you're a naturalist and you're just presupposing that the brain produces the soul. Obviously, that's not what we mean. That's an okay rebuttal, but I think the worst part of this is, what the hell is the soul? How lazy is the soul that it's incapable of preserving the person's experience here on Earth while they have a body? To me, even though that brain damage occurs, the soul's just sitting there doing nothing. To me, that's just evidence of what we would expect. It's kind of like problem of evil arguments. I would expect there to be all this pointless suffering if the world was just if the world was a cruel mistress, right? That's what I would expect under no God. Whereas under God, I wouldn't really expect that. And this consciousness soul thing, it's the same kind of observation.
I just think, I don't know. I just think consciousness is more of a mental state. Like, I don't really know. Like, I guess you could say it's physical, but to me, it's more of a mental state and like how you process things and feelings and perceptions. I don't. That to me, that's what it is, more or less. I don't. Does that make sense or no?
I mean, I get what you're saying, and like again,
'Cause,
I don't really
like, physical
know.
is a broad. I don't know, broad statement. Like it could
Yeah,
imply a lot of things. I
like
guess.
mental states can't be quantified really in any meaningful way, and I can't build a machine that makes mental states for you. But I don't think that's
What do you mean by mental state? Like what you feel, like what you're like if you're angry,
I
sad.
can't make something that has its own mental states. I don't have the
Oh,
ability to, so I can't demonstrate them in a way to you. There are things we can do with like fMRIs and other things where we can kind of demonstrate what a person's mental states are in a way.
uh
Like you
huh.
can compare psychopaths versus normal people and what kind of like neurological activity they have, etc. But
Oh yeah.
I can't make a mind producing thing for you, so I can't really demonstrate them in that way. But I don't think that that's actually really good evidence that they're non-physical. There are all kinds of, and like I also said, we can't quantify them, but maybe they're not quantifiable. But historically, there have been all kinds of things that can't be explained that ended up being merely physical, like lightning, or I would say life, I guess, or earthquakes, or like whatever. Just name a natural disaster and or a natural phenomenon, and that would be it. Why things fall
Uh-huh.
down, why we breathe air, you know?
Yeah, I didn't mean to go off on a Phil Bro tangent. I'm just like, and then like I said earlier, I don't know a lot about consciousness. It's just how I kind of view it, like that it's a mental state, or I don't know, mental, yeah, mental state. But I see what you're saying too.
Yeah, totally. Um, Anything else?
No, thanks for having me up and explaining this to me.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thank you, Britt. And I'll talk to you later.